I wonder why. Because we've got two collapsed suns.
Is that what it is? Is that what these are?
Hello.
Wow. Right, let's check. Yeah, firstly though, let's do what we normally do. Let's check if we're live. I hope everyone is all well.
Barocca.
You've got a nice vitamins day, though.
Me on a good day.
Let's have a look then. Just check. We are on the old Facebook and live. Always looking to see who is first. Hello, Anthony. How are you
Anthony
doing?
Christian.
There we go. We're live. Awesome, of course, because Anthony is here.
Laura
But I always like
Collins.
to check, you know? Always like to check.
Laura, she was second.
Second. Sorry, Laura. I'm sure it's because we're a minute late, right? That's what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, great to see Anthony, Laura. We got Chris Collins. We got Mark. Evertrex even on here. Wow. Marky V. How you doing, Mark? You got Jim. Yeah, always good to be back. Sorry,
This is going to happen a lot.
I know, but I wanted to be on today, even though my nose is still in recovery mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting.
Don't sneeze.
I won't sneeze
because you'll cover the camera.
No. I've been practicing. You've got to sneeze through your mouth for the first couple of weeks. So I'm not
sneeze
actually
through your mouth.
So it's quite weird. Yeah, literally you go like chew. And
does it come out your ears then if you do that?
It's a bit weird because I never sneeze like that. But anyway, enough about operations and all that. We we talk about mishaps and misadventures. Yeah, it was quite a last minute thing last week where I've been on the waiting list for several years. And literally had a message last Tuesday, Wednesday saying, "Can you come in this Friday?" I was like, "Wow, yeah, let's do it." I was like, "Okay, let's make it happen." Even though there's always stuff going on in life, right? Yeah, had to get it going.
You got in, they led down, put you under, looked in his nose, and then his doctor went, "Susan, cancel my 2 o'clock. We're going to be here a lot
longer than planned. It took a lot longer than planned, but at least it's done now.
Yeah, I hear it was like a hedge maze up there.
It was complicated, but it's all sorted now. So yeah, we're on the mend. We're back today, and when we were thinking about today, something we've done before actually is talk about things sometimes that don't quite go right on a trip or an adventure. Mishaps and misadventures. Lovely, cool title, isn't it? But it's the things really that on a trip or any journey. It doesn't have to be at altitude, but it's any travel experience, any experience at all. It's always when something doesn't go quite right, but it actually adds to the journey and makes it more memorable. Not always, there's some bad stuff that can happen, but sometimes when things don't go to plan, those are the things you actually talk about in years to time. Many years time. I was trying to get my words out there. Years down the line, and you're talking about it. I remember that we broke down. I remember. Oh my god, we missed that flight. Things like that, and it kind of adds to the story.
And I guess it's kind of just like it's not trying to.
Sophie's comment there is brilliant.
Just slipping on frozen wheat at Gorek came.
Yes,
that counts. That counts.
That's a huge tick.
I've had some horrendous mishaps in Gorek. Remember that time I told you when I put my bag down and it rolled?
No.
Well, pulled off to the side of the road to have a little wee in between Gorek and Le Boucher.
No way.
Put my bag down.
Yeah.
And because it was on a little bit of a slope, I thought it was safe.
Yeah.
It rolled, and it rolled through a human egg. Not a dog egg, human egg.
No.
So an egg a human had laid previously. And I looked at it and I was like, do I just abandon the bag? But luckily, I had loads of wet wipes. So I poured water on the wet wipes to get a good lather.
Yeah.
And then just covered my whole bag in them. And and then I covered it in hand sanitizer. It's important to talk about these things, right?
It is because they can happen.
I tell you what, it is gross and it may be a bit lowbrow, but it happened.
Yeah,
and it's and it's something that I now talk about both as a comedic story anecdote.
Jerome, my brother once weed on an electric fence. Oh, bloody hell, man, that makes me wince big time.
Yeah,
that must have hurt. I hope your brother's okay. And
there's his sister now.
I hope everything's okay. Human egg.
Yeah.
No, I know we're laughing about all this stuff, and some of the stuff is, the Kangaroo is serious, of course, but we're never a million miles away from a joke or a laugh, are we? When it comes to it,
especially if it's about eggs.
Eggs. Yeah, I can see that. Good to see. Just who else has joined us? We got Richard Johnston. We got Bry,
Tina,
Stuart Taylor. We got Tina. How you doing, Tina? We got Jerome,
Rebecca, Butterflies and Bees.
Jerome. Someone told me that you've now
going
booked on to a trip next year.
He's going back to the. He's going back to the motherland.
He is. Yeah, great to see you booked on, mate. I'll probably be on that same trip actually, looking at July next year. Jerome, tell everyone where you're going. I know. I think you dropped a little post in the High Altitude Evertrekkers group, but where are you going, mate? It's I'm sure after the back of last week's live, it'd be a clue. Although I've cleared it off the board this time.
Have we not got anything on the board today?
No, it's okay. It's blank canvas day.
Yeah.
This is it. Black. This is like I got a new nose. It's a new whiteboard. Just gonna nice and clean. So Jerome, where are you going? What trip are you going on? When are you going? It'd be good to see if any other Evertrekkers are coming on there as well. But I think there he is doing the TMB. Of course he is doing the Tour de Mont Blanc in July next year. Yeah, we're really excited, Jerome.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be our first actual Evertrekker trip on that July next year. So yeah, I'll also be on that trip, all going well. Be wonderful to see you, mate. But yeah, Chris Collins makes a good point as well, turning difficulties into opportunities. I think that's a really positive reframe there, isn't it? Of when things do happen in life, and you can turn that challenge into a positive, and obviously difficulties into opportunities. That's a really good line. Actually,
exactly. Yeah, I
like that.
I had an opportunity to find many alternative ways to clean a bag on a glacier in the middle of nowhere. Figured it out, got it done.
Improvisation.
I'll be honest with you. I almost left the bag.
I can.
Picture. I was like, I got 3 days to get back down. Could I do it without a bag? I could probably buy one in Namche.
Yeah.
So these all these thoughts, and the only reason I did it was because I thought I don't want to carry everything I've got today because there's quite a lot in there, and also that technically I suppose it would be littering.
This is it. Yeah, you don't want to leave a bag there, right? You want to take it with you.
So it was tricky, but yeah, you are right.
You did the right thing.
Sympathy pains.
Wow, mate, what's going on? But connected, is it? You're feeling
exactly. Yeah. But honestly, it does show that like there are certain trips that if you go on an adventure travel trip, something won't go to plan. 100%.
Exactly.
And it's when that happens, not to get bogged down in whatever that may be, but also see it as part of the adventure.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly why we go on adventure travel.
Exactly.
Because an adventure doesn't necessarily mean like you're just going somewhere different.
Yeah.
It's everything that happens along the A to B to C to D every day, all the little people you meet, all the little upsets that happen, all the little challenges you have to overcome. That's what makes it an adventure for me.
Yeah.
If going to EBC, for instance, was just as simple as booking a flight, going to Nepal, walking to EBC.
Yeah.
To me, that's more travel than adventure travel. It's the fact that when you go there, there's loads of little challenges you've got to overcome. There's the altitude, you've got to look after your health.
Yeah.
The weather plays its hand and stuff like that. So it is like it's that sense of like dare and do. You go out there and you're pitching yourself against those challenges to see if you win.
Well, I think anytime you go on an adventure travel trip, I mean, saying that, you could be going to Disneyland and things happen on the road, right? But generally, if you're on a trek or an expedition, any form of tour, you do get those things that don't really kind of go to plan, but it does make it more memorable. And I think definitely at the end, that the harder it is, whether it's like that kind of ego part of the brain or whatever it is, you kind of, if it's harder, it kind of makes you feel that little bit more like you've achieved more because it's been more challenging. Especially if you've been through the wars. Like fair dues, I think one of our very, very first ever treks was you and Billy. And I wasn't on the trek, but that was in, what was it, October 2016.
October 2016.
And you mentioned that Billy didn't eat for 5-6 days or something.
It was a long time. Very minimal food. Like I think he'd eat like half a Mars bar in the morning, half in the evening.
I can't imagine that.
Like you just couldn't convince him or force him to eat.
Yeah.
Just a complete loss of appetite.
Which happens, which can happen at altitude. That can be one of the symptoms, and you just don't feel hungry, or you've got a dodgy belly. But I know chatting to Billy afterwards, having gone through those difficulties, and Billy made Everest Base Camp. I remember the video he sent. He's like, "Hey, I'm at base camp."
Yeah.
Or he called it the ice flow.
Yeah.
I remember that. I was like, he's altituded. It's called an ice fall.
Yeah.
But no, he. I think chatting to him afterwards over a pint of Guinness, because he's from Ireland, and you could see kind of, because he battled through.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like he'd achieved more almost because of the battle he'd been through.
100%.
As crazy as it sounds.
100%. Because what I think we felt like when we went there, what you're kind of reaching for, you want to kind of get a taste of what it was perhaps like for those early adventurers taking on something that's never been done before. Now, even though we're doing something that's pretty well established, the little challenges that you face are something that no one else has had to do before. So when you come back and you've had to overcome like this hurdle, that hurdle, you know, lost appetite, couldn't sleep, you know, bags went one way, I went another, you know, it's like, and you overcome those, you're like, that's what made it a challenge.
Definitely.
That's where the adventure comes from.
And it's I mean, I suppose then, because I know we've kind of introduced it a little bit. Should we talk about some specifics then that happen? I know we've got a lot of stories around maybe things that haven't quite gone to plan. Certainly adds to it. But I know a big one, and I think we've seen over the years. I've been a lot of treks, especially in Nepal, and that dreaded kind of feeling. And obviously, if anyone's going on a trek, this isn't to scare anyone. This is just about, you know, the things can happen. Is that you're waiting for your bag, you're in the arrivals area of Kathmandu Airport, and you're looking at the conveyor belt. Where's my bag? Where's my bag? Where's my bag? And it doesn't come. And you're thinking, fuck. You know, you're like, oh my god. Oh no, sorry, but we'll beep that out on the podcast.
That's accurate. That's what you're thinking.
It's probably still the anesthetic. Just
crazy.
But the point is, with that, it can happen, and it has happened to a few people, unfortunately. Big oops, Mark. But it can happen, doesn't it? And we've had to. I think one thing we've helped with luggage issues, because I mean, we always say, you know, don't forget to kind of wear your boots, wear your jacket on the plane. So you've got, you know, your down jacket. So you've got kind of a couple of things with you. Obviously, you can't wear everything. You've got to put something in your checked luggage. But if it does go missing, you know, we've kind of tried to help people on the way.
I mean,
flying her up to them, sorting her out.
Yeah, you are in the hands of the of the airline a little bit, but providing that your bag can arrives within the next few days. Even if, so for instance, a specific example was someone arrived in Tanzania, their bag didn't.
Okay.
Obviously, they had none of their trekking equipment, nothing like that. So what do? There's a panic, and immediately you start to think, well, I can't go on the trip. I haven't got my trekking equipment.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so
first thing you'd be like, oh
but
my God, I need
you know
this.
What we were able to do was sort of piece together enough to get him through the first couple of days. And we'll send a representative to the airport. The representative collected the bag. We gave it to an incredibly fit and well-rewarded porter.
That's right. You went all the way up.
Legs it up
Tanzania,
legs it up Kilimanjaro with the bag, reunited with the person. We've done that a couple of times with people. I actually remember a trip that I was on, and you were on actually. I think you were on it. With a good friend of mine, Colin.
Fridge.
Colin Fridge. His bag didn't arrive.
That's right, April 2019. Wasn't it?
So I think the first 2 days he didn't have a bag, but I think it caught up with him in Namche.
Yeah, we flew it up to him. Yeah.
So the one important thing is that if that type of thing happens, is like not to panic. There's always something that can be done
to
salvage the trip. You know that it's not uncommon for something like that to have to be dealt with. You know, whenever so, but.
It's a good point though, because it can happen, and I mean, as you know, Andrew's put in there. You know, my bag never left Heathrow, and was 36 hours behind me. I mean, you know, especially when you're maybe if it's like a first trip or first time you've been to a new country, you know, it can be a real kick in the nuts. You know, when it can get you down, but you know, obviously with the team, we try and help as much as we can. Obviously, we want the airline to bring the bag, but we'll always be able to kind of help in some way. And also as well, you know, remember that, like as Dave just said, like that doesn't mean your trip's over. We can always do something. Your trip's still going to happen. It might be a few difficult days. You might have to wear some of the same clothes for a few days. No, it might not seem nice. Might not seem nice, but at least it's not kind of trip ending. We will work it out.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something you can do around that, and you know, eventually, you know, in very rare cases, it'll never arrive. We've never had that. It usually does. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was back in 2018, actually. I think it was in November. I was with Steve, who came with us to film Journey to Base Camp. And one of the guys there, yeah, his bag didn't arrive, and he was claiming it on insurance. He literally went on a spending spree in Tamil and bought everything for his trip.
Is this Stevie B?
When I was on that trip, yeah. No,
His bag?
no, it wasn't Steve. It was one of the other guys.
Okay, yeah.
I forgot his name now, but yeah, basically he had to buy all the gear, all the boots, which is not ideal. But again, he got to base camp.
Yeah.
And actually, when he got back down, you know, they found it, but he claimed it on his insurance anyway.
100% could be done. I mean, yeah. I'll be honest with you, I always have that paranoia. Touch wood, I've never had a bag go missing.
Yeah.
But I always have the paranoia. The most recent time that I had it was when I went, we were skiing in France, and I was flying out a few days after you on my own.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, if those skis don't turn up, you know, like I'm going to be.
But you can always
yeah, but I would have rented.
Exactly.
You
There's
know,
always something you can do. Right?
I would have just rented. But, you know,
not ideal.
Like, it's not ideal, but it's just to know that, like, these things can happen, because sometimes we are flying to far-flung regions of the world. The airport is not going to be like Heathrow or LAX or something like that. You know, it's going to be, you know, so sometimes these things can happen.
It's a good point, though, because I know we touched on luggage there, and our next one we wanted to talk about was flights. And I think, excuse me, Marie makes a good point. I'm looking at booking my flights soon for Kili. What happens if my first flight is delayed? And yeah, we wanted to touch on that because, especially over the last couple of years, post-pandemic, you know, flights are becoming a bit of a pain. And you know, there's always been issues with flights, long-haul flights, connecting flights, transfers, you know, all that stuff, especially if it's something you haven't done much of.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, if your first flight is delayed, when I miss my connecting flight, what will happen? I suppose there's a couple of things that we always do. You know, you can't cover all bases. You know, if a flight is cancelled or delayed, that's part of the journey. But we do always say that if you are booking a flight, do book with the airline. Might be a little bit more expensive instead of going through like an agency.
Yeah.
But the point is that they will be able to back you up if a flight is delayed. I mean, I'm going to use Qatar Airlines as a really good example, or Turkish Airlines. Airlines I've flown with a lot of times, and also where there's been issues with connecting flights, some my own fault, some theirs. But the point is, they were always able to put me on the next flight, or right, we're going to put you up in a hotel for 8 hours, come back, and we'll get you on the next flight. Now, obviously, it's not ideal. You know, as who was on there? I think it was Stephen. You are protected by the airline, exactly. And generally, if you booked with an airline, they will kind of make sure they get you to that destination. You know, they've got a requirement to get you to that destination. And you know, there's always something you can do. There's always something they can do. But if you do miss a connecting flight, if it is delayed, if things get cancelled, generally you can get to where you're going to get to. Look, it might mean that you might miss a day, which I know is not ideal because you want to make the most of all of this. But you know, we've had people arrive literally because they've had like missed flights, and you know, they've missed the day tour, but they still got the trek. They still reached places like Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
And it's just, I suppose, just thinking about that, if we can kind of mentally prepare for these things, I mean, you know, we don't want to be thinking about this all the time because we don't want to attract that kind of stuff. But if it does happen, just remember that it's not like trip ending. It's just, it might affect your trip in a little way.
Yeah, well,
you know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, again, it's part of the adventure that you wish wouldn't happen. Like, that's one that I would probably dislike at the time, dislike afterwards, and dislike long into the future. However, like,
excuse me,
I don't know why, but I always try and think about this, like this romantic idea that, you know, when Hillary and Tenzing or Mallory and Irving, when they were going to Everest and stuff like that, they would have had so many hurdles thrown in front of them that would have seemingly ended their trip. And okay, you're going along in a less ideal scenario, but you shouldn't let those obstacles deter you from getting to where you're going. If you start from a point of not, okay, my trip's over, if you start from a point of, well, I'm still going, then you're gonna be like solution focused. Sticking with flights actually for a minute, one thing we can talk about as well is sort of like, because flights is a bit of an two-pronged attack. You know, we can talk about the international flights,
Yeah.
but often if you go into Everest Base Camp, you're going to have the local flight to contend with.
Yes.
And there's a couple of things
Yeah.
to consider there as well. And I'll jump in and answer Samantha Neve's question.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a question we get always before the start of any season.
Yeah.
15 kg, so that's for the Lukla flight. Can I go a tiny bit over, even if you have to pay? I don't mean by much, but treats are quite heavy and scales may vary a little.
Yeah.
Will they check my pockets? You said pop your charger in one. Thanks, Sam. So 15 kg. What we always advise people to do is, try your best to stick to the 15 kg.
Yes.
You can stray a little bit over, but here's the rub. So if everyone strays a little bit over, what they'll do if the flight is overweight is they will take the heaviest bags off. And they don't necessarily tap you on the shoulder and let you know. You find out when you land at Lukla, and you're like, okay, where's my bag? Oh, great.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Now, it's not the end of the world. Usually what will happen is then that bag will get put on another flight to Lukla. But you are, again, in the hands of the weather gods. You know, you've got to move on in a few hours to Facting, and you haven't got that much time, really. So I always say, try and keep it to 15 kg. You can buy a lot of treats and stuff in Namche and the other lodges.
Yeah.
But everyone does bring some with them. So how do you get around this? Well, one is they weigh your bags, not you. Okay, so empty all the water out your bags, wear your boots, wear your jacket, put your power banks in your pocket, have your camera around your neck, that type of stuff. Anything you can to kind of save weight. Because they're not going to weigh people, and we know people all weigh differently anyway. So, for instance, Andy could load up with cameras and stuff and still weigh as much as me without my stuff.
Yeah,
so it's kind of fair, and it works out, and they account for that. But they are quite strict with the bags. So, just make sure anything heavy's on you, empty your water, only weigh what you have to. You'd be surprised how many packs of Haribos you can secrete.
Secrete? Wow.
Is that the same word? I know secrete is leak, but also secrete as in secret something away. Is that English work? I don't know.
I don't really know.
You'd be surprised how many packs of
Haribo is
Haribo
usually an external thing.
Yeah, but I also think it might be a
Maybe
word for like
secretly store.
Secreting something away.
Okay.
I don't know where. I'm gonna look this up. Anyway, I overcomplicated it.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many packs of Haribo you can buy.
You know. That's true.
So yeah, that's it. So yes, you can go over if you're like, say, less than a kilo over or something. Squirrel. Almost certainly, it's not going to make a difference. But if you're sort of approaching like 17 kilos and they have to unload some, you're in the, you're going to run the risk of it being offloaded. It happened with someone I was on a trip with that was a photographer. We flew out to Lukla, all her stuff was fine. She assumed it would be fine to pack it all to come back. And when we landed back at Ramachap, wasn't there.
Really?
Yeah. So we had to then, the guide has to call the guy in Lukla. Yeah. Hopefully he answers and then gets the bag on the next one, which is what we did. But yeah, she was very panicked because it was quite a lot of valuable camera equipment.
It's hard, isn't it? And you hit a good one there, because whilst we're on flights, you talk about Lukla. Obviously, we're talking about international flights, but also about the airport. You mentioned Ramachap, which was something that actually came into effect early 2019. Unfortunately, it was enforced by the Nepalese Aviation Authority, essentially because they were renovating Tribhuvan Airport, Kathmandu. Essentially developing all the airport facilities, including the runway. So all of the internal flights in Nepal were actually going from, especially to Lukla, we're going from Ramachap.
Yeah.
So we did that. I mean, I've been to Ramachap probably 3 or 4 times. And, if we're talking about probably things that, because at that time, it was obviously more of a surprise. I mean, nowadays, they've moved pretty much, like 95% of all flights to Lukla go from Ramachap.
Yeah, pretty much all of our flights in the spring and autumn will be going from, you do get some that go from Kathmandu
on a rare occasion
on
now,
the
isn't it?
fringes of the seasons, it is hit and miss. But yeah, if you're booked to go to Nepal with us this season, next season, pretty much any season now, they're looking at permanently moving the Lukla flights to Ramachap. So yeah, it is one of those things that has to be done. There's a few concessions that have to be made to do it.
Yes,
but yeah, it's a bumpy road.
Again, these are. I mean, and every company is in the same boat here. This is, something we, luckily, because we had a lot of practice in 2019 when it was kind of brought in. Obviously, there was 18 months we weren't out there, but towards the end of 21 into 22, so all of last year, we did do quite a lot of Kathmandu flights, but the availability now is like very, very remote.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's what was it? I think was it Chris? Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, Chris, how much the Kathmandu tour do we miss? We still get to go and see as much as we can. So
But
we'll still, unfortunately, it is impacted because of the situation with Ramachap. And again, we talk about mishaps and misadventures. I think this is more around, you are getting to see a part of the country you probably wouldn't see. Certainly, that's the feedback we get.
yeah.
Yeah, Sophie, I know you've done that journey as well, and yeah, it's not ideal, going on this long journey. I say I've done it numerous times. I suppose half a dozen, there and back, and yeah, I actually quite enjoy it because I quite like that. That it feels quite adventurous because the roads are very bumpy, they're very windy.
Yeah.
But you do get to see, especially some of the Himalayas that you wouldn't really see.
And you get to go down to the lowlands of Nepal as well, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the day tour is, it's not ideal, but here's the way that I look at it. One is like the trip is to Everest Base Camp. So if we have to lose half the day tour, which is generally what we'll do, it's a worthy sacrifice to go to the Himalaya.
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
It's one of those where we do get some questions thrown at us because we'll go from Ramachap and you'll see a couple of flights go from Kathmandu. And the answer is, certainly every single day, some flights will probably go from Kathmandu. But here's the rub. It's relatively random who gets to go on those flights.
Yes.
So we can't guarantee. So if we sent a group of like 4 groups of like 40 people there, maybe 2 will get to go and then the rest of them will have to go back to the hotel and wait a day. It's far safer to make the overall decision to go to Ramachap and just make sure everyone leaves on time.
Yes.
It's also a shorter flight window, so it's only 20 minutes instead of 40 minutes, so we can manage the weather like much more accurately.
Yeah. And Jerome's comment, what roads? It's certainly they're improving. I've heard just from the team on the ground, and any Evertrekkers that have been out this season, because I know we've had 5 or 6 groups already reach Everest Base Camp. 5 groups. Got another, I think our 6th over the next few days. Let us know how things have been going. In terms of the road situation, because we heard they were doing some developments on the roads between Kathmandu to Ramachap. Because again, they're pushing a lot of traffic that way now. And they're staying quite close to the airport, aren't they? We stay at what's it called? The Akshit Hotel.
That's not a swear word.
Nope, that's what it's called. Actual name.
Yeah, but it's in a place called Mantali, which is just outside of Ramachap. But what I always say to people is that if you want to explore more of Kathmandu, have an extra day at the end of the trip.
Yeah.
The cost pretty much is the hotel at the end. And then once you arrive back in Kathmandu, you have a ton of free time to go around and see all the sights and scenes in Kathmandu that you may have missed on the day tour. So win-win.
Yeah, and most of the time, I mean, just some of the feedback I've had over the last 18 months, couple of years with regards to that change, and obviously it was enforced, unfortunately, is that the day tour is really, really good. Don't think that you're missing everything there. You will see a lot of the sites. Usually, the kind of 4 or 5 places, you still get to go to most of those, whether that's Boudhanath Stupa, or whether you go to Durbar Square, or whether you go to Pashnupatanath, the Hindu temple. There's lots to see.
Yeah.
Certainly in Kathmandu, and I think you made a good point actually. The day tour is kind of a good introduction, isn't it? But certainly, I mean, I know a lot of people do this. They have like a day at the end where they can, some people obviously want to get back and, with annual leave and things like that. There's you've got to get back. But if you can, have a day as like a backup day, because if there are any delays, one, it'll help. But, also as well, then you've got another day to kind of wander around Kathmandu at your own leisure.
Exactly.
Which is quite cool, an adventure in itself. And certainly, of all the time I spent in Kathmandu, I love going on those little, those side streets, and you never know where you're going to. And it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Kathmandu is an awesome place to go for a walk, I tell you.
Exactly. And Chris has said, what time do you get to Ramachap? It'll be dark. Is there anything worth seeing there? No. So
unfortunately not. No.
Unfortunately, that day is just
quite
all
lowland,
about,
isn't it? Yeah.
It's all about getting just close enough so the next morning we can get up and get the flight.
Yeah. Get you to Lukla.
So any sort of exploring and stuff like that, in terms of like city exploring, always best to do when you get back to
Definitely.
Kathmandu and have that extra day. We always have an extra day because it's it's nice to go back to. We usually go back to Budanath. Have a look because it's kind of chilled there. Nice souvenirs.
It's very
good cafes. Himalayan Java's amazing there.
Yeah, they got a lot of cool souvenir places as well. Or if you're into your art, they got a lot of painting places. You can see some tanker paintings there. It's very, very interesting place. But yeah, it's Rebecca. I factored in 3 days in Kathmandu. 3 days, mate. That is awesome. Brilliant. You're going to see a lot of Kathmandu if you've got 3 days, definitely. Yeah, I went for a walk in Kathmandu, got really lost. Jerome, all part of the adventure, mate. All part of the adventure.
I'm going to make a note of that place that Sophie's just talked about there because
Dwariska is a treat. I thought 16-course meal. That sounds really good.
Well,
Sophie's really good when it comes to that kind of stuff. She travels a lot.
See, I learn just as much because
every day's a learning day.
She had me at 16-meal course.
Is that what it is, Dave?
Whether it was good or not,
I could murder that.
Largely irrelevant.
But Dave Rivington, today we're closing our suitcases and heading off for our flight to Nepal. An amazing EBC adventure. Dave, mate, it's been time flies, isn't it? Can't believe it's been a year already. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. But
your nose makes like a spring noise now.
It's because it's still a little bit congested.
I can hear it. It's like I was like, I thought it was it's like a spring, like like a buzz. I'm telling you.
Hello. Yeah, maybe it does.
When you're talking, it's like when you go. I was like, I thought it was something.
No, it's because it's still.
It's gonna be like you're running on extra oxygen. I think it's
gonna be weird at altitude. Yeah. I'll actually be able to because I haven't been able to breathe from my nose for over 10 years.
Wait till you smell the toilets at Gorrickshire.
I suppose it's been a superpower when I've been at altitude, but it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it actually.
Awesome. Do you want me to smash some questions?
Yeah, sure. Sophie actually said you can actually get to 22 courses, Dave.
Hang on a minute. I'm just gonna cross out 16.
Looks like Marky V went there as well. I need to get to this place. This sounds awesome.
Do you know what it is? This is why I love talking to people once they've been there.
Yeah, because everyone
discovers stuff that I don't do because I've been to Kathmandu a lot, which is awesome, and I'm so privileged. One of the downsides is you do develop a routine,
right?
Of going to Kathmandu and go to the similar places all the time.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, I don't try Dariska or whatever it is. So 16...
I like what Jim's saying as well. Jim Blues, hope all is well. Get signed up for Langtang Valley, no internal flights. Exactly, there are.
Yeah.
If flight delays and that kind of stuff, and going around the chat isn't your thing, try the Langtang Valley. Yeah, we do have some availability next year for that. Definitely. If you fancy getting on with that, it's becoming a more popular trek for us. It's still relatively new.
Yeah.
But I know Jim obviously is keen to go on that one. Definitely Langtang Valley. There's a few like that. Like sometimes, normally we fly to Pokhara. If we're going to the Annapurna circuit, Annapurna base camp, but you can drive if there's any delays.
Yeah.
I get a long drive. I've done it. I think it took like 8 hours. That was good traffic.
I was battle of laughs.
that was a bit of an adventure.
Scalded myself in my coffee.
Hey, you need to understand how to.
I know. I haven't got like internal suspension, so
you were just rigid.
Yeah, I had to pour half of it away to stop it pouring over me.
And I was like, "This is fine."
Yeah, but you're an oddball with coffee. I don't know how you do it. He'll buy a coffee at like 9 a.m. and still be sipping it at midday.
Well,
I've seen it happen.
Every drink is an experience.
And I'm like, "Is that warm?" And he's like, "Not really." But it doesn't bother him.
Wow.
But yeah. Right, question from Nigel Hawks. Nigel boy. So, hi guys, doing EBC next March. In respect of jackets, I go in for warm or waterproof. Looking at photos of recent treks at this time of year, the jackets worn don't look that heavy. Oof. I'll be honest, Nigel, you're going for both.
Yes.
You can use one of our down jackets. So if you are looking to only spend money on one, go for a good Gore-Tex waterproof jacket.
Yeah.
And bring it with you. You'll 100% wear it. And then use one of our down jackets, which you will also 100% wear. Because if you're going in March, that's off the back of winter, you can get some quite cold weather.
Yeah.
And regardless of the time of year you go, Gorrickshire is really warm. low boucher is really warm.
Yeah.
In the evenings, you're going to want to wear like a down jacket or something like that just to keep the warmth off you.
Yeah.
But I always have my Gore-Tex jacket. Well, I did. It's gone now. In my
Tubcal, huh?
Yeah, lost it.
Tubcal has it now, mate.
Yeah, make use of it, Tubcal. Make use of it. But yeah.
I wonder where that is.
I don't know. I like to think that someone picked it up by accident, got home, realized they had it, needed it, and now has a jacket they didn't have before. That's my most charitable way of looking at it.
Yeah, nice.
I don't like to think of any other scenario. But yeah.
Good. No, but Nige, good question. And you're right. Yeah, you do see some people who don't really wear the down jacket that much. And to be honest, certain times of the year on the way to Everest Base Camp, you only really need it, even in the evenings, and some people not even then. Is they actually just wear it, Gorekshep, at base camp. You don't really want to hike in it or trek in it too much, because it's not good at kind of wicking away.
Cold.
Yeah, really cold.
Really cold.
Some people do, because that works for them. But majority of the time, you see people hiking there, whether they got like a mid-layer fleece or maybe a windproof, like a wind stopper, or their waterproof jacket like Gore-Tex.
It's amazing. Simon just pointed out there about Seeing Hands Nepal, which is an amazing place to go for massage. They employ people trained in massage but who are blind.
Yeah, they are amazing.
Very difficult for people with those type of issues, to get jobs and work. So yeah, being trained in massage whilst being blind is an amazing thing, and they are so good as well. So if you do want a massage, 100% check out Seeing Hands Nepal.
Some good questions though. I know we got a few there. I'm going to jump on to Dave's question. Dave Ribbington, how you doing, mate? Which is the highest peak trek? So trekking peak ever trek do? The highest trekking peak is Aconcagua, so almost 7,000 meters. So yeah, it's a bit of a beast. That would be the highest one that we currently do. If you're thinking about trekking peaks in Nepal, a little bit different. You're talking about Mera Peak, so just over 6,400 meters. So yeah, mate, they're the highest ones that we do. Obviously, we've got some other ones we've kind of been bringing in slowly and surely. Things like Lobuche, Amadablam over the next couple of years will be an expedition we want to bring in. It's definitely getting a little bit busy there. It's quite small. It's not a big place to go, so we're thinking on times of year to do that. But certainly, if we've got Evertrekkers who want to come on those expeditions, we'll be putting them on. But Aconcagua is becoming very popular. We got some good, was it January next year? I think we got a nice group of 8 going to Aconcagua.
Could be 10.
And that's because me and Dave are also thinking of going on that expedition as well. But I know we'll both be in Nepal in November, right?
100%, yeah.
Island Peak and Mera. Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Too far. I've got a question. I'm going to destroy the name.
Okay.
And Ansha Dirks.
Yeah, you done well.
Do you know how to pronounce it?
No.
That's the best we're going to do.
Oh, mate, you've done well.
Yeah. Is it rare for people not to make Everest Base Camp?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Yeah. So our success rate is it's over 95%.
Yeah.
So arguably
rare,
5% or fewer don't make Everest Base Camp. We actually did a podcast about the 5% that don't make it, where we talked about what are the reasons
good episode, for
those 5%. So yeah, I would say so. No, it's no, it is rare, but 5% of a lot of people is still a fair few. It's worth exploring why people don't. And honestly, there's so many different reasons as to why.
Yeah.
Obviously, altitude plays its hand, but it's certainly not the only reason. Other reasons is just overall fitness. Some people just overexert, become exhausted, and need to rest and can't continue. Other people might pick up some sickness that's random, and it does happen. Other times you might be fit, you might be well, and you might roll an ankle.
Yeah,
which is why we always recommend wearing boots. So
get unlucky, can't you?
Yeah.
It's really hard because of all the times we've been there, luckily, touch wood, everyone's come back. But certainly we've had some, people we had to evacuate like immediately.
Yeah.
Because of medical issues. But it's very rare. So it's a good question. But when it comes to going to base camp, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. If you can focus on everything you can control, your pace, your hydration, trying to, as much as you can, stay in that positive frame of mind, enjoying yourself, remembering why you're there, remembering why you're doing it as well. Maybe you're doing it for charity, maybe you're doing it to, just because it's like a personal challenge.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, that all adds up, and sometimes doing all that, you can do all that and still get unlucky, and that's, you can't kind of, you can't quantify that particular thing that happens. But yeah, sometimes you get a dodgy belly that then affects your energy, which means you don't want to walk.
Yeah.
Like Dave said, altitude sickness, it can hit anyone. Our guides get altitude sickness. Anyone can get it. But if you can do the basics, then you're going to minimize that chance. But just remember that these places are amazing and they're beautiful, and but it's not worth putting your life at risk. And if you do get to that stage, and your guide will coach you through this, it's not an easy decision. I've been there with people who've had to turn around, and I've said, look, we got to get you down. It's your life's more important. It's not going anywhere. You can go back again and you can try it again. If you are ill, we want to get you down.
Yeah.
We want to make sure you're safe. But look, if you go out there with that really positive mindset, I'm going to do this. I'm going to really look after my body by drinking enough water. I'm going to try and eat as much food as I can, even if I'm not hungry. I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can. 99.5 times out of 10, 95% of the time, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Terry Calvert said hello from Texas.
Oh, Harry Terry? Hi, Terry. Don't know where that came from.
Your nose, mate. Hi, Terry. Texas is on one of my it's on a bucket list.
Good morning as well.
I've always wanted to go there.
Must be quite early there, but always nice to see ever trekkers from over the pond. But I hope all is well, Terry.
So like Texas is one of those places where I think they have really good weather. But I seem to remember, like in recent history, like maybe last year or two, they had like a massive snowstorm where like it was freezing temperatures and stuff like that. Terry, maybe you can enlighten me. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
You're intrigued.
As I'm saying it doesn't sound right, because I think Texas is good weather. But anyway, I think I remember that. And anyway, Texas is on my list. I'm going to go there one day.
Yeah, it's really good. Chris, whose ultimate decision is it to turn back from a trek? I mean, you'd be daft to ignore the knowledge of the Sherpas, but just wondering. Yeah, Chris, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think most of the time, and when you're on any of our trips, the guides are in charge and they're responsible for you.
Mm-hmm.
If they say you need to get down, then to go against that would be difficult. That being said, we've had people who are like, look, I want to go one more day. Can we go? And it's hard. It's not like they're like bossy and saying, no, we got to go down. Like they care for you at the end of the day, and your health is number one. But ultimately, we have to come to that decision together. It's always easier. We've never really had kind of difficulties with anyone going, no, I gotta go on, and ignoring the advice of people. That's luckily, touch wood, never happened on our treks, but I have seen that happen. But it's not like you watch like the Everest movie or people ignoring advice of the people who are looking after you. It's not a wise decision.
But it's rare as well that you're ever in a position where you're like, no, I'm going to go on. It's like normally you can't.
Exactly. There has to be a reason. It won't be just like a switch either. It's over a few days. Yeah, it's you'll be feeling symptoms.
Generally speaking, if you need to go back, you're never usually in a condition to continue. You'll be too exhausted or tired or sick or injured. So but if you ultimately the guide's word, in my opinion, is gospel. So if they say you go back, then you go back.
They want you to get there. I mean, that's why we have high success rates. They want you to get there.
I mean, they'll push you. Like they'll push you as far as you can go. But to get to the summit of Kili or EBC, it's not worth everything.
No, exactly.
And it's it's not going anywhere either. So you can always, like my father failed to reach EBC on his first attempt, turn back.
And he came to that decision himself, I remember, right? He was like, I'm too tired, knowing what he had already in front of him.
Honestly, he was probably really typical of the condition majority of people get in. He could still walk, but he was going so slowly and he was so tired and so exhausted that he realized that whatever achievement he was aiming to get was gone. It wouldn't have been what he wanted. And secondly, he'd have been just absolutely emptying himself and running the risk of needing to join Chopper Club. So he made the call like half an hour outside of Gorikshep, Lobuche. He made the call then just to go back. So he did go back, and then we we did a monster day. We went from Le Boucher,
Base camp.
Gorekshep, base camp, Gorekshep, Le Boucher
in one day. Yeah, it took us like 12 hours.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't mind it.
I quite enjoyed it
because getting back to Le Boucher and staying there the night was nicer. I know it's only a couple hundred meters lower, but it just makes that bit of difference, doesn't it? You know, and it was just.
Well, I think we and again we talk about misadventures and mishaps and things that change of plans. I mean, that was, you know, more of a private trip anyway, so we could make these kind of decisions. But yeah, it was clear that we'd have to sacrifice Kalapatar, but because your dad was you know, but we couldn't leave him alone. We had to, you know, team mentality, and we were like, right, we'll get the base camp, we'll come all the way back.
Well, generally speaking, yeah, that was because it was like a group of friends going. But if you're on one of our typical trips where you've met up with a group of people and you met for the first time on that trip, who goes back, and the rest of the people stick to the itinerary.
Exactly.
Because it's important for everybody to be able to fulfill their goal of getting to EBC, climbing Kalapatar, seeing the sunrise on Everest.
Brilliant. I know there's Evertrekkers there right now. I can't
exactly
imagine what it's like this morning. It would be awesome because we got some lovely rain here in South Wales. But absolutely brilliant. But any other questions? I know we've skipped ahead a little bit.
Yeah. So Marie Sokol.
Yeah.
I'm looking at booking my flight soon for Kilimanjaro. What happens if my first flight is delayed? So if your first flight is delayed, you can always send a message. You'll have a pre-arrival email before you go, which will give you all the information of the local team in Tanzania and our details. So you can always send an email letting us know, or a message or a text or a call to the people in Tanzania. But ultimately, as long as your flight's not cancelled, it'll have the same flight number, and our team track the flights as they come in. So if your flight's like 2-3 hour delay, it'll be fine. You know, the real risk with the first flight is that it causes you to miss your second flight. If that happens, all you need to do is send a message based on the information in that pre-arrival email to us in Tanzania. It's fine, we'll be there to pick you up. No problem.
Great stuff. Chris Clifford Hurst as well. Hope all is well, Chris. Arriving a few days before, can we arrange a trip for then? So yeah, I presume. Sorry, Chris, just remind me. Is that in you go into Kathmandu a few days early? Yeah, if you are, great stuff. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot to do around Kathmandu. I'd say, like when you arrive, you know, you'll be catching up with one of the Evertrek team there, and go into the hotel. Obviously, if you're coming earlier, we'd have your flight details. We'll book the extra accommodation there. There are other things you can do. Normally, people do it after, if I remember right. People do like Chitwan.
I recommend after more. It's okay to have a day extra or something like that, but let's just say you have like 2-3 days extra and you choose to do it at the beginning. You're eating and walking around Kathmandu. I think the risk of picking up something like a stomach bug
it's a good point.
before the trip, it's not necessarily any more or less likely before or after. But the fewer days you have before the trip, the fewer opportunities there are for you to pick something up, which means that you're going to be healthier on the trip. And then if you do it at the end and you pick up something, then you have a dodgy flight home, but you haven't missed the goal of getting to EBC. So my advice to you would be also, man, it's nice to have it at the end. You know, because you really do. One, you're like a Nepal expert. You know, so you come back, you know a few words, you feel more comfortable, you're out walking around, you've done the trip, the pressure's off, you can relax, you know, it's just far more enjoyable at the end. You can go and get a 22-course meal.
Well, now we know. And also, as if by magic, one of the other Yetis has put the Extend Your Adventure link in there. So on our website, we've got a little kind of area where it's all our trip extensions. And obviously, they're dependent on where you're traveling to. You go to Kili, there's quite a lot in Tanzania that you can do. Highly recommend doing either safari or going down to Zanzibar. It's brilliant. If you go into Nepal, 100%. I think Jerome there. Chitwan National Park is amazing. I had the privilege of going down there a few years back and love the Terai region, which is the lowlands of Nepal. It's such a contrast to the mountains in Kathmandu. It's very, it's not far from the Indian border, so it has quite a lot of Indian influences, but it's an awesome place to travel to. Obviously, you get to see some animals as well. You got the Chitwan National Park, do a safari. That one is awesome. And obviously, any of the other trips as well, if you're in like South America. So I'm literally almost about to sneeze. I know, I can feel it. I can feel it building. I'm like,
it's going to be like the movie Carrie.
Oh, wow. It won't be that bad.
Okay, you sneeze for a second while I answer Christopher Clifford Hurst question. People have mentioned flip-flops for the evening. Is this true? Worth adding to the bag? Yeah, 100%. I always bring Crocs because they're just
you love your Crocs.
Well, they're amazing. But yeah,
go on.
100%, because if you want to wake up to go to the toilet in the night and stuff like that, you don't want to be putting your boots on or anything like that. You just want to slip into something that keeps your feet off the wet floor. And also it's nice to wear something like that lets your feet breathe at the end of the day, so you can keep them healthy, keep them dry and whatnot. So yeah, 100% I highly recommend them. I've never done a trip without the sliders or the Crocs.
You love it, don't you? But no, you're right. Especially like if you go into Kilimanjaro, Springlands Hotel, this swimming pool. So if you take in your flip-flops, for in and around the pool, a bit more relaxed, quite warm actually in Moshi. It's crazy because when you're in, obviously on Kilimanjaro and it's cold, it's freezing, and then you're at the hotel and it's like 30 odd degrees. Nuts.
Most temperature differential I've ever experienced in 24 hours. Like minus, what do you reckon? Summit we were on minus 20, 25.
No, I'd say it's about minus 10 plus wind. So yeah, it probably would have been not far off that.
We're in the wind chill factor.
Yeah, so around about minus 20, I would have said.
Yeah, to plus 30, plus 35.
It's crazy, wasn't it?
The next day. It's insane.
Very, very crazy, but fantastic.
Mark Viggers, how do I log in for the Remoose app? You send an email to info@evertrek.co.uk. You should have already had the details for login in an email, so you can check those. But if you have had them and you can't, or you haven't had them, email the team and they'll send you the login details for it. So yeah, you can get access to that.
Awesome. Sophie's asked a question as well about Killy. How long do we get before the trek starts? I presume, Sophie, is that like how many, in terms of like the days before you start trekking? So yeah, normally you have the arrival day, then you've got like a day which, kind of exploring Moshi and the local area, and the next day is when the trek starts. Just in terms of the itinerary. Is that what you meant? If it is, great. So you've got that day then. Moshi is really cool. Very, very remote in terms of the type of lifestyle that Tanzania's very basic living. You walk through, especially on the outskirts, a little bit like townships. Very, very interesting to learn about the Tanzanian way of life. There's good coffee shops in Moshi as well. Normally, we have one of the Evertrek guys who kind of takes you around, and he can show you the different places as well. Yeah. Obviously, you've got the schools and the orphanage there as well.
Yeah.
2 nights. Yes, that's it. 2 nights you have. So if you're arriving, then you got 2 nights before you trek. And on the second
maths is hard.
Day, I know it is.
You're normally good at maths.
It is when you've got a lot going on here.
Yeah, I know.
You'll be having your briefing and you'll catch up with the Evertrek guide in there. It's quite nice there, Springlands Hotel. It's got like a big garden area. It's very relaxing. Obviously, you got a swimming pool. You can have a massage as well.
Why not?
But I don't think there's any 16-course meal there. But
you could make one.
You could make one.
Yeah,
definitely.
Alison Morgan has asked how many in a group. Is there a limit? So generally speaking, our groups for EBC maybe 12 to 15 maximum.
Yeah.
What will start to happen though, if one date becomes particularly popular, instead of sending one big group, we'll split the group into 2. So for instance, instead of sending a group of 24, we'll send 2 groups of 12.
Yeah.
Each of them has its own like core members and its own guide. You'll be going to the same place at the same time, so naturally there's going to be some connection, which is awesome. But just to keep that small group feel, and so you can ask questions to the guide without being one of 24 people. Makes it a lot easier. Killy, it's more like 12 limit before we start splitting the groups.
Nice. Yeah, we never wanted our kind of group trips to be massive. I mean, last year was a bit crazy because we had a lot of people who obviously it was a bit of a bottleneck. So we, in terms of like we had midweek trips, we had weekend trips. Obviously going to Nepal, similar with Tanzania. So we had to make certain allowances, but generally, like you said, Dave, 12 is kind of a nice group size. We do have them bigger sometimes, especially if it's fully booked. And we get one person that's like, oh, my friend really wants to come with me. Like, we'd hate to say no because we can.
Yeah.
It's just that we obviously don't want to stretch that into like 20, 25, 30 because it detracts then from the getting to know your guide.
Yeah.
I hope that helps. With regards to because something I want to mention, because only a couple more days, because what we're on the 28th today. You've got a few more days, actually until the end of Thursday,
Yeah.
to use the Tour de Mont Blanc code, which is TMB 200. I'm going to put it in here. Now that is, I know Jerome, who booked on earlier, obviously we've had other Evertrekkers book in, but definitely if you're interested in joining the Tour de Mont Blanc next year, we've got 2 dates. Use that code and you'll be getting some good discounts.
Yeah.
You get £200 off when you're booking in. But yeah, just wanted to throw that in there because I think we're coming towards the end of the live.
I think so, mate.
Mishaps and
Yeah,
Misadventures.
happy with that, mate. And absolutely, well, only one little mishap that I can remember, but other than that, like it all went good.
Brilliant. No, it's been great. I hope. I know you always think, oh, why are you talking about things that go wrong?
But that's what people want to know.
Exactly.
You know,
because
like
things do sometimes
exactly
don't go to plan, and you know that's why we kind of wanted to talk about it today and things that sometimes don't go to plan, but actually adds to your journey.
Yeah.
And it certainly makes it more memorable. I don't know if there's a lot of writers out there or people that journal. I know certainly when I used to write my travel journeys, travel journals when I was backpacking, I used to enjoy writing stuff when it didn't go to plan because it definitely fills a page.
Yeah, well, if there was a book and it was everything started well, continued that way, and finished good, no one would buy that book.
Exactly.
Like so. But no, guys, it's been awesome. Next Tuesday, I think it's me and Zachariah.
It is, yeah. So I'm away next week, but thanks to everyone for joining. I think one thing before we go, I think Jerome mentioned if you pay in full. Very good point, actually, Jerome. You should work for a marketing team. There are some more discounts if you do pay in full. Do check your emails. It will say in there. I think it's full 150 if you do pay in full while booking for TMB.
Yeah,
you do get a little bit more discount for doing that. But thanks for reminding us, Jerome.
Awesome.
Apologies, I haven't been quite with it today. I'm still getting over the nose, but it is getting better. Can't wait to be able to smell again for the first time in years. Hopefully that time I smell again is not in Gorek Chef.
Yeah,
but if it is, well, at least I can smell. So.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thanks very much, and we'll you'll see the guys next week, and I'll be back the following week. But have an awesome week and weekend, whatever you're up to. Hopefully not too many mishaps or misadventures, but if it does, then you know how to roll with it now. So great.
Awesome. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye.